Welcome again to another Curator's Chat. I'm Jason French, Curator of Collections at the Behringer-Crawford Museum. Today I wanted to share with you a little of the things that we've been working on here in our collection and actually working to conserve and maintain and do some restoration work on some fossils, as well as research in our collections with some archaeology. So I thought it might be fun to kind of share some of the behind the scenes with you. Now, you may have remembered a curator's chat we did with a researcher from UC, a young woman named Emily, who is getting her doctorate. She is still working on that doctorate, very close to finishing it, and here recently we have been trying to go through and stabilize and conserve in a modern archival fashion some of our fossils, including things like this wonderful woolly mammoth tooth I have in my hand, which until recently was in multiple pieces, and now it has actually been conserved and is back together. Now, as you can see, there's still some gaps, but we're working on this piece, and this is one of the things that she has been working on using some modern archivally sound and wonderful glues that are now available that in times past when these fossils were being worked on were not available. One of the other things that we've recently done is actually work on our mastodon mandible. Our lower jaw of the mastodon was mounted in such a way that it just was not the best for the specimen, and we have been putting it on, or she's been working with us to place it on this foam, which is archivally sound and actually will handle the weight of the fossil as well as support it in ways that its own weight will not cause it to crack or fracture over the years to come. So there's been a lot of conservation work that we've been doing with our big bone lick specimens and fossils, and I thought I would share that with you. We've also been working with some local archaeologists that are affiliated with the state and other people looking at some of the collections that have been housed here for a lot of years. One of which is from a site called the Bentz site. And the Bentz site is just east of Silver Grove, Kentucky. And it's a very interesting site because it covers probably several periods of people living there. So maybe over hundreds or even thousands of years of people living in the same area. You'll find different layers of sediment, and the dig there that happened, I believe it was in the 1980s, has gathered together some really amazing specimens, and no one's really looked at them in recent years. So we were approached by these archaeologists that are curious to kind of take a modern look at some of the finds there. And that site actually was lived at right up until maybe about 1600, just before European contact in this area. So it's a very interesting site that dates all the way to what we think of as the late Fort Ancient period. Some of the items from that site are these beautiful pieces of pottery. Now, these actually fit together, and you can kind of see how this was a storage pot. So it's been fun to kind of go back and look at some of the fossils, and then also the artifacts that we have in our collection in archaeology. So we're not only just researching native archaeology and fossils from Big Bone Lick, but we have other researchers coming in who wanted to look at some of the items from the Hemingray glass factory right here in Covington. Now, Hemingray was kind of right at the end of Madison in Covington, right at the river. So it's the north end of Madison. Hemingray was a glass factory. Robert Hemingray had founded it a little before, I believe, the Civil War. He was involved locally in the Civil War. And it's an interesting factory to see what they were manufacturing. They were manufacturing all kinds of different pattern glass and pattern pieces, whether it's fruit jars like in the poster, different lamps, and other pieces, the Hemingray manufacturing. But the thing that most people are probably aware of from Hemingray is you'll see these insulators for telegraph poles. Now, Hemingray made lots of different patterns of insulators over a long period of time. The artifacts we've been going through are actually from the factory here in Covington. They also eventually had a factory, I believe, in Muncie, Indiana. But this particular insulator that we found is interesting. It has the very first patent date that Hemingray insulators will have, which is December 19th, 1871. And this was found at the site. Now, there are a lot of insulators with the December 19th, 1871 date on them, and there's even different styles of insulators. But there seems to have been maybe 5 or so styles that you'll find with this early date before they start having dates in the 1890s. This one is an insulator from the Hemingray site, and it has the patent date, and it just has this number 1 on it. And it's likely a very early insulator from the Hemingray factory. We have also found in some of these boxes that we've been going through other insulators. Most are not intact. They would have been just discarded because they broke in the process. This one is another December 19th, 1871 insulator, but this one has there I believe is the December 19th, where the first one had a number 1 on it. This one has a number 2. So this is also one of the earlier styles of Hemingray insulators. And it's a beautiful piece. Just thought I would share that with you. We've been very excited. It's always fun for me as a curator to kind of get involved in the research. And when we've got researchers that can come in and we work with them and actually either maintain and learn more about our own collections, and we understand that maybe we've got things that can help tell the story and advance the knowledge throughout the known world. So it's exciting for us to do. Just thought it might be a different kind of curator's chat, something I've been very excited to be a part of. Recently kind of covered in just this chat thousands of years of Northern Kentucky history. So thank you. Feel free to tune in on our next curator's chat, and we'll see you.